Hey folks, welcome to Jungle Drum's Algarve Edition. We had actually live streamed this on Thursday, but unfortunately, due to technical issues, the video feed got all mucked up. Basically, it got to the 17-minute mark, and then the video feed completely froze. That's because I live streamed it, and unfortunately, whilst the internet speed here is quite good, I don't think it's necessarily consistent enough for streaming. So instead, I'm just going to re-record this. Unfortunately, on my own. I'm not joined by Gim or Sergeant J this time around. So I'll keep it relatively short. Now, all these news items were picked prior to me flying over here, so it's probably old news by the time you're seeing this. So apologies. But to keep things simple, I've just stuck to the original news items. So the first one I'd sourced from GameSpot, and of course this was about the PlayerUnknown Battlegrounds launch on Xbox One. The numbers of people playing PUBG on PC have been crazy. I mean, it's still like, I think it's been the #1 game played on Steam for quite a while now. Same when you look on the streaming platforms, Twitch, Mixer, and YouTube. Everywhere is streaming it very, very consistently. And so now it's been released on the Xbox One. I believe on launch day they had about 500,000 players, and I'm fairly sure by now we're well over 1 million playing just on Xbox. And it's a bit bittersweet for me, this, because I mean, PlayerUnknown's Battlegrounds, okay, hats off to them. They've got a good recipe there and they're succeeding, but it's a bit strange for me that a game that is still basically a preview build, or beta, as I suppose you could say, on PC at least, it is about to be released as a final. I think version 1.0 is coming out in the next week or so on PC. But on the Xbox, it feels strange to actually retail package a game that is early access. And, I've got an issue with this. It's a bit strange. It's a game that is, obviously needs work. And based off what I've seen from people benchmarking, I believe Digital Foundry did some really good comparisons here between the plain Jane Xbox and, of course, the new Xbox One X. And performance is just horrible on PlayerUnknown's Battlegrounds. The normal Xbox, which is quite interesting, people have learned that if you plug a keyboard into your Xbox, you can access some of the advanced menus within PlayerUnknown's Battlegrounds. You can't alter anything, but at least you can see what things are running at. So as it turns out, on the normal Xbox One, it is running at, I believe it was low or very low graphical settings for the textures, which explains a lot, because a lot of people have been complaining that it looks like absolute ass. And it runs horribly as well. I mean, I think if you can hit 30 frames per second, you're doing pretty well, because from what I've seen, it's struggling to hit 20 consistently. Again, depending on the area and how busy the area is. Whereas even on the One X is struggling. The One X appears to be running the game at medium textures, and still hitting 30 frames per second is few and far between, with the game seeming to run, somewhere in the mid to high 20s. And it doesn't seem to be the problem's hardware. It has to be, again, it's just a poorly optimized game. We know on the PC it's poorly optimized, and even on console it looks like this port just is not as good as it could be, unfortunately. Excuse me, I'm outside. See, I'm in the sun. Even so, the sun's going down, which I know kind of affects the lighting a little bit. I thought it's a good time of day to do it, because earlier on it was just too bright outside, so it was. But no, PUBG is rough. Let's be honest. The game right now, in its current state, is extremely rough. It's just, could they have waited? Could they have waited a little bit to maybe try to polish it a little bit more, optimize it a little bit more? Absolutely they could have, but it's all about the bottom line, right? PUBG had already got beaten to the punch by Fortnite with their Battle Royale mod, and of course offering it free to play. That's been crazy popular on the Xbox. People are playing it left and right. So it seems like the pressure was on for a PlayerUnknown to get Battlegrounds out as soon as they could. But it's just crazy. It just doesn't look like it's I don't know if they're going to be able to patch it. I don't know if it's going to improve over time. We'll soon see on PC whether this release of version 1.0, the actual final, well, not final, but it'll no longer be considered early access. If the PC version will actually be a bit more optimized, because in the Xbox it's just in a really rough state. I do believe the Scholarly Gamer has a pretty good article coming up in the next week, going into some more detail about PlayerUnknown's Battlegrounds on Xbox, so make sure to check that out when it comes out. My next article I had sourced from Engadget, and this is about a game that I own and have played. It was a game I was excited for, and to be honest, it didn't really deliver on a lot of different levels. And this is Ghost Recon Wildlands. Wildlands is fun, don't get me wrong, and now with the new optimizations for the Xbox One X and the PS4 Pro, it's a gorgeous looking game. If anything, it's like Grand Theft Auto, but in a more tactical environment. If you're playing with your buddies, you can have a hell of a blast. I know my good friend Gimboyd is very good at trolling me. Trolling anybody that plays with him, and dropping helicopters or crashing other vehicles into to his fire team members. But anyway, Ghost Recon Wildlands, it's been updated over time. They've had new DLCs, of course, Narco Road. They've had that whole PvP one that has came in, and I've never really messed with that. If I want to play a Tom Clancy game in PvP, it's going to be Rainbow Six Siege. Occasionally the Division, for some of those new PvP modes. But no, anyway. The Predator is coming to Ubisoft's Ghost Recon Wildlands. This free special event is running from December 14th all the way through early January. And basically, the special event is a challenge. And this challenge is supposed to be full of references to the original Predator movie. And I haven't seen it yet myself, because, well, I'm on holiday. But it sounds quite interesting, So there you go, out in the jungle. You can encounter the Predator. If you manage to take him on and defeat him, there's going to be, you'll be able to earn exclusive items like a Predator mask that's going to have the Predator vision built into it. And of course, as with anything these days, there has to be some kind of purchasable item, right? Sure enough, there's a Predator pack in the game store, which contains 15 new customized items, including movie-inspired weapons and close combat moves. The Ghost War PvP mode is also going to get a new soldier inspired by Dutch himself, who'll be able to engage a Battle Rage Berserker mode. Did Ghost Recon Wildlands really need this? No. It's clearly a somewhat of a marketing campaign. Now, okay, Jungle, why do you say it's a marketing campaign when it's introducing a character of a film that was made in the 80s? Aha, my friends. That is because in February there's a Predator film reboot. So, yes, the plot thickens. That's what it looks like to me. It just, sure, when I get home, I'm going to try it out. I want to check it out, and I'll see if it's cool or not, and I'll let you know. If you out there have Ghost Recon Wildlands, give it a look and see what you think for yourself. But it's clearly just something to tie in with the film. There's been some kind of, incentive, probably monetary, I would imagine, to do this tie-in with the film reboot. Oh well. Moving on, my next article is from our friends over at WCCF Tech, and this is about the next Metal Gear game. And I'll be honest with you, this game was not on my radar at all. And this is Metal Gear Survive. And Metal Gear Survive is going to be the first Metal Gear. You know I said Metal Beer because I've been drinking a lot of beer while I'm on holiday, so it's a Freudian slip. It's fair to say that Metal Gear Survive has a kind of an uncertain future, because this is going to be the first Metal Gear Solid game, or well, just a Metal Gear title in general, following Konami's ugly split with Hideo Kojima, right? This is going to be the first Metal Gear game without Kojima in it, or being a part of it, rather. And I'll be honest with you. I mean, this game was not on my radar. It's only reading the article and seeing that this game is going to be a survival horror. Okay, that's interesting. I don't know how that's going to fit, but we'll just have to see. There's an upcoming open beta. There's a trailer out there on YouTube. If you search for Metal Gear Survive, you'll find the single player commentary trailer. But what gets me here is the storyline. If you've played through Metal Gear 5 Ground Zeroes, you know how it ends. And I don't want to spoil things for you, so basically, the way Metal Gear Survive picks up, it picks up right where Metal Gear Solid 5 Ground Zeroes left off. With players are pulled through a wormhole. Yeah, I just said wormhole. And find themselves in a dangerous world filled with biological threats and hostile environments where they must survive and find their way home. Not only will they fight off deadly creatures, but they'll also explore and forage the environment for food, water, and other resources to stay alive. So even the Metal Gear franchise is now trying to cash in on these whole survival-esque type of games. I'm sorry, I'm just going to try adjusting here. See if I can get a little bit more light in the shot. Maybe? No, maybe not. I was just trying to, because I know it's getting a little bit dark. So it is, because it's that time of the evening. Okay, we'll be fine. So, is it going to be a decent, survival strategy game, despite having the personality of the previous Metal Gear games? Who's to know? We'll have to figure it. We'll have to see how it looks. But there's going to be an open beta if you, like me, want to find out. And that's going to be running from January 18th through the 21st. The beta will be able to download on PS4 and Xbox One. So, there you go. If you participate in the beta, you will also receive an in-game bonus if you purchase the full game, which is going to be a Foxhound nameplate, an accessory Metal Gear Rex head, and an accessory bandana. So there you go. There's a little bit of incentive if you want to indeed try it out. Next, I'd looked at videocards.com, and this was about the NVIDIA Titan 5. Right now, the NVIDIA Titan 5 is the first card to be released based on the Volta architecture. This is the next generation of NVIDIA cards, and Volta looks to be quite exciting. Now, the Titan V is not specifically made for gaming. This is a card that is more about its computational power, so it's really aimed at professionals. It's, similar to how the Quadro series was, if you think about it, people using professional software that requires, all that kind of computational power, so to speak. And this is what the Titan V is. The Titan V is $3,000, so I very much doubt that the average gamer would be able to afford one anyway. But with that being said, even so, this is not a gaming-specific card. It looks like it performs really quite admirably. The NVIDIA Titan V is, of course, the first consumer product that has 5,120 CUDA cores. If you know your NVIDIA cards, you know that CUDA cores are important. That's what gives it their, its oomph, allowing to do all the calculations. And also, it's going to be the first gaming-capable graphics card from NVIDIA that has HBM2, the high bandwidth memory, on board. So, spec-wise, sounds really, really interesting. The theoretical bandwidth of the video card is something like 752 gigabytes a second. So that is impressive. So in this comparison that video cards has done, they have actually overclocked it, and they've compared the benchmarks of an overclocked Titan V with a 1080 Ti, a 1080 that's been overclocked, and also the AMD Vega 64. And the differences are quite interesting. In Firestrike performance, a 1080 Ti that's been overclocked scores about 31,000-ish, whereas this Titan V is scoring almost 36,000. Compare that to a normal 1080, which hits about 25k, and a RX Vega 64 that hits about 24. It's really, really, it's quite amazing. If you look at the new benchmarking software that's the superposition. I don't know if you've tried or not. It's pretty cool, and it really just rings the hell out of your system. A Vega 64 scores about 4,000 in the superposition 1080p extreme test, whereas a 1080, just a normal 1080, scores about 4,700. Whereas a 1080 Ti, to put this in a perspective, scores about 6.3K. So impressive. Well, the Titan V is scoring 9.4K. So this card is, very, very interesting. I mean, it's very powerful, but for $3,000, you would hope so. Why it matters to us is because as gamers, whenever the gaming version comes out, which of course is going to be more affordable, pricing, is probably going to be somewhere between a 1080 Ti and a Titan XP, in that $800 to $1,200 mark, depending what they decide to do. They'll most likely do a gamer version Titan flagship, but then do whatever the heck they're going to call this next series. I don't know if they're going to continue their numbering scheme, with the 1180 and so forth, or if they're just going to take this chance and go, no, Volta is its new, their new thing, and start up a new game naming convention. We'll just have to wait and see. But no, quite good news there for all our gaming PC enthusiasts. The last bit of news that I'd planned on covering was from Polygon, and well, it's been all over the internet, and this is of course about Destiny 2. It seems as of late we're constantly talking about Destiny 2, and the latest kind of big issue with Destiny 2 was that there was outrage in the community because basically with that new DLC Curse of Osiris coming out, it had locked content for players. Some of the higher level activities like the Prestige Nightfall and the Prestige Raid were content locked basically behind the DLC. Even so, you've been doing that since launch. If you've had the gear and the fire team to do these things, you've been able to do these week after week. But then the minute the DLC came out, if you didn't own it, you were locked out of those experiences. So yeah, the community was pretty pissed off about that. So sure enough, Bungie had admitted that it made some mistakes, and highlighted or addressed that yes, or recognized that yes, okay, by locking access to some high level content behind the purchase of the game's first expansion, it's clear that they screwed up when it comes to handling content access. If you'd kept an eye on social media, whether that's Reddit, Twitter, Facebook, they were getting absolutely slated everywhere. And, there was a lot of issues. It was not only was the Prestige version of the Leviathan and the Nightfall Strike, but it was also Trials of the Nine and Iron Banner were also locked out. So it wasn't just the PvE folk getting pissed off, it was the PvP crowd as well. Of course, all four of those activities offer some of the highest class loot that is available in Destiny 2. So it seemed really, really unfair. One of the biggest deals as well was by doing that, it ended up locking away PlayStation trophies and Xbox Live achievements, which I don't know of any other game that has done that has actually, achievements were available at launch and then later down the line go, okay, no, we're taking those away. I don't think I've ever heard of a game doing that. So, according to Bungie, they stated that our team overlooked the fact that both of these mistakes disabled trophies and achievements for Destiny 2. This was an unacceptable lapse on our part, and we can understand the frustration it has created. Bungie. Destiny 2 is just... it's a game that I want to love. I mean, come on, me and my crew, we were excited about Destiny 2 coming out. We wanted to love it. It's a good-looking game. The gunplay's still there. They claimed it had a whole bunch of story, which, well, that's debatable. The DLC just was a tiny little extra slice that gave us a bit of lore, but the story, in my opinion, felt so disjointed from what we had been doing. It's a nice little diversion, but it just doesn't seem to fit. It's just... Bungie just doesn't seem to be learning from its mistakes. At least now they're trying to offer a little bit more transparency, a little bit more communication with their fan base, because at this point they need to do something. The Dawning is just around the corner, which the Dawning, if you don't know, is the Christmas event, the holiday event in Destiny 2. And once again, it looks like that is pretty much all behind a paywall. If you're a completionist and you're going to want all the items from the Dawning, you're going to have to get your credit or debit card out and purchase silver from the store and buy the things, the loot crate-esque things to have a chance at getting the items you want. So, yeah. Bungie, you just... I hate to say... I'd like to say that I'm surprised, but I'll be honest. In the years that we've been dealing with you in the Destiny universe, I think most gamers aren't. Most fans of your franchise, we kind of already know what to expect next. There's some of us out there, like Jay, who's the eternal optimist when it comes to Destiny, and even he is now finally has been ground down and just does not see a light at the end of the tunnel. He's... said to me on a couple occasions he's not convinced he'll be playing the next DLC, and he's really hoping that when the expansion for Destiny 2, similar to how they did in Destiny 1 when the Taken King had launched, when Destiny 2 has its equivalent of the Taken King, he is hoping that is going to inject it with new life. We'll just have to see. Oh well, guys, look, and gals, this is it for Jungle Drums this week. Again, we had a longer cast on Thursday, and of course there was conversation because Gim was with me, but again, unfortunately due to technical issues, I had to re-record this. So I'm sorry it's been very one-sided and not the usual conversation, but needs must. I'm going to go back to enjoying my holiday. It's now dark out here, as you can see, so it's getting a little bit cooler, considering I've been lounging out in the sun. Had a great fab day. We just took it easy. I was booked in for a sports massage where, holy crap, talk about deep tissue. If she'd went any deeper, she would have been inside of me. And it can be a bit painful, but worth it in the end. Came out of it feeling super, super relaxed, and I've just been lounging out in the sun the rest of the afternoon drinking beer, as you do when you're in the beautiful town of Albufeira in Portugal. We come here every year this time of year, and we just absolutely love it. To put it into perspective, back home, it's minus something right now. Sleet and snow. The snow is actually... It was to the point when we drove to the airport to fly out to here, the road that we went on was actually shut not long after we'd left due to snow. So, even if it isn't super hot over here compared to what it would be in the summer, it's still considerably hotter than it is back home, and hey, it's enough for me to get a suntan to piss everyone off at Christmas dinner. So anyway, thanks for checking out Jungle Drums. We will most likely have an episode next week, and probably during the holiday season. I know we're going to do like a Jungle Drums year in review, I believe, looking back at what kind of the top stories were of the year, what were the biggest deals, what were the biggest disappointments, what were the biggest things that were awesome. We'll definitely be doing that at some point. I don't know if it'll be before the end of the year or shortly after the new year. And of course, make sure to check us out on ScholarGamers.com. We'll be having a few different things coming up. I believe we're doing a special kind of end of year series, which should kind of encompass different people's opinions of their top 3 games of the year, but more details on that to follow. In the meantime, make sure to check out all the other great video content on the site. My good friend Unbearable Gamer, who does Armchair Gaming, which is philosophy explained through the tool of video games. And of course, Streaming Fundamentals, if you want a little bit of hardware info and advice. And besides that, you can always check out scholarlygamers.com for features, for articles, for reviews, and of course there's a stream page where you can check out our fantastic streaming community. Likewise, if you're on Twitter, Facebook, or just on Google, if you search for the hashtag scholarlygamers, you will find us somewhere. In the meantime, like I said, I'm going to go get back inside, get warmed up, and catch you next week. Take it easy, guys.